Today we're going to be looking at context clues. Before we start, let's talk about what they are. Context clues are clues that help us guess the meaning of new words that we find when reading. There are 6 context clues. This is synonym context clues. It's the same word. Antonym, it's the opposite. Explanation, the author gives us definition. Inference, we guess intelligently. Example, these are examples. And punctuation context clues. This is mechanics. We'll be looking at these 6 context clues more deeply. Let's start with synonym context clues. Synonym context clues is when the writer says the same thing twice, but first with a difficult word and then with an easy word or in a simple way. For example, Miguel was very loquacious. He was really talkative. We can guess that loquacious means talkative. Why? Because it's a synonym context clue. The writer gives us a difficult word first and then an easy explanation, easy example. Easy definition or an easy word. Okay, moving forward now, let's look at another example. This will be an exercise for a synonym context clue. Try to guess the meaning of the underlined word jovial. All morning she was jovial. She felt happy because it was Friday. Does jovial mean A, happy, B, sad, or C, talkative? Take 3 seconds to think. Okay, the meaning is A, happy. Here we have a synonym context clue. She was jovial. She was happy. Okay. They have the same meaning. Moving forward now, we have antonym context clues. This is when the writer tells us what the word is not. Usually, the writer will use a contrasting phrase such as but to tell us that the opposite thought will follow. Other examples of contrasting phrases are but, however, on the other hand, in contrast, although. Okay. Let's look at this example here. Miguel was very loquacious. However, Dina was very quiet. Okay, so we can guess that loquacious means to talkative. Why? Because it gives us the word however here and tells us, signaling that an opposite idea is coming up and that Dina was quiet. Okay, so we can see that loquacious doesn't mean quiet, so we can maybe means he's talkative or loud. Okay, moving forward now. Let's do an antonym context clue exercise. Okay, we're going to guess the meaning of gregarious. Jake was very gregarious. On the other hand, Janet was quiet. Okay, is gregarious A, being shy and quiet, B, not wanting to meet people, or C, wanting to meet people? Okay, go ahead, take 3 seconds. Okay, we know the correct answer is wanting to meet people. We can guess this because on the other hand is one of those but phrases telling us that a opposite idea is coming up. Here the opposite idea is quiet, and quiet is the opposite of gregarious, or somewhat opposite. It's just different. So we have the antonym, the opposite of quiet is gregarious. And we can guess that maybe is loud or maybe wanting to meet people, but we have a general idea of the word better than if we didn't know this. Okay, let's move forward now. Then we have definition context clues. This is when the writer explains the definition of the word. Phrases, usually the writer will use a phrase like which means to tell us that the definition is next. Some examples of this are that is, which means, i.e., the same as that is, and that is to say. Let's look at an example. Miguel was very loquacious. That is, he loved talking a lot. Okay, so the writer gives his definition. He loved talking a lot. Loquacious means love to talk. Okay, let's look at an example. Let's do an example for definition context clues. Okay, we'll do an exercise for definition context clues. So for example, let's guess the meaning of censorious. Okay, what is the meaning of this underlined word censorious? Jake was very censorious, which means he criticized his friends. Okay, does censorious mean gentle, unkind, or critical? Take 3 seconds to guess. Okay, it means critical. Here we can see that censorious, and then the writer gives us the definition. We know its definition because the writer uses the phrase, which means, and then he defines the word for us. Okay, now we're going to be looking at inference. Inference is the typical context clue that we are given when we are reading. What inference means, it means that to guess the meaning, we as readers must use logic, our background knowledge of the world, our understanding of the topic, our understanding of the main idea, and the illustrations that are present to guess the meaning of the new word. So, for example, Kubrick. Kubrick was very loquacious. He spent hours on the phone with his friends. He also loved telling long stories during dinner table. Also, he gave long answers to simple questions. Oh, so what is the general idea of this? Seems like he likes talking on the phone. He likes telling long stories, okay, and he likes to give long answers, telling long answers to simple questions. So all of this is telling me that he likes to talk. Okay, so I am inferring that he is loquacious. Okay, I can also infer that another possible guess is that he likes meeting people, but the idea is that of wanting to talk, wanting to meet people. Okay, it's not 100% perfect, but it's close to the definition, which is important. Um, let's move on now. What is the meaning of this word? So we're gonna guess the meaning of this word cacophony. Okay, the underlined word. All right, and we're gonna use, and this is an inference context clue, so we're gonna use some smart guessing. Okay, so here we go. In the music class, he heard a cacophony. Some children were singing loudly. Some students were loudly beating the drums. One student was loudly practicing the trumpet. However, none of the sounds were good. Okay, so what is the meaning of cacophony? Is it a group of bad children, a harsh mixture of noises, or a harmonious song? Take 3 seconds to guess. Okay, if you guessed B, a harsh mixture of noises, you are correct. And we can see right here, we say singing loudly, loudly beating drums, loudly practicing the trumpet. Of course, I have the word loudly a lot. And then added definition, none of the sounds were good. So we get an idea of a very noisy area, a noisy mixture of sounds. So your guess might not be precise, but being close is as good as being perfect. The important thing is to be able to understand the what we are reading and definition of new words. Okay, let's look at one more example. This is an example context clue. This is when the author provides an example of the unknown word. Usually the author will use a phrase like, for example, to tell us that an example follows. Other phrases are like, such as, for instance, for example. Okay, let's look at an example. Kubrick was very loquacious. For example, he loved meeting and talking for hours with his friends. The spelling error here, but we see an example here. For example, context clue. To give us an example of loquaciousness, loving to meet and talk to people. Okay, so let's look at let's do an example context clue exercise. We're going to use the example provided to guess the meaning of this word. What is the meaning of this word? The brothers have a very adversarial relationship. For instance, they fight a lot over toys. Okay, so we're guessing the meaning of adversarial. Does adversarial mean peaceful, unfriendly, or playful? Take 3 seconds to guess. Okay, if you guessed B, unfriendly, you were right. Okay, we can see they fight a lot over toys. They give us an example of their adversarial relationship. They fight a lot over toys. Definitely not peaceful, definitely not playful. It's very unfriendly. Again, maybe when we're guessing, our guesses are not exact, but they're close. That doesn't mean that we're wrong. It just means that we have a better idea of the word. Okay, next and the last one is the author uses punctuation to tell us the meaning of a word, of the unknown word. And punctuation can be capitalization, italicization, parentheses, and question marks. Let's look at the example provided here. Miguel was very loquacious, open parentheses, having a tendency to talk, close parentheses, period. Okay, so here we have, again, same example, and it's showing us what loquacious means, is having a tendency to talk a lot. Okay, let's do a punctuation exercise, punctuation context clue exercise. Let's try to guess what is the meaning of this word. World historians must be polyglots. Hyphen, knowing several languages. Does a polyglots, does that mean understanding world history, studying a foreign language, or speaking more than 2 languages? Take 3 seconds to guess. Okay, If you guessed C, speaking more than 2 languages, you're correct. A polyglot is a person who speaks more than several languages. The author here provided us an example. Okay, so quick summary. Synonym and context clues, the same word. The writer first uses a difficult word and then an easy word. Antonym context clues is the opposite word. The writer tells us what the word is not. Explanation context clues, this is definition. The writer explains the definition of the word. Inference context clues. We, the readers, use smart guessing. To guess the meaning, the readers must use logic, background knowledge of the world, the topic, the main idea, or illustrations. Example context clue. These are examples. The author provides an example of the unknown word. And punctuation context clues. These are mechanics. The author uses punctuation to tell us the meaning of a word. Lastly, I want to end on a suggestion. As I mentioned several times, maybe our guess is not 100% correct. However, if our guess is close, then that is good enough. This is because being able to closely guess the meaning of a new word makes us better readers, and it makes us less dependent on our phones and dictionaries. So try to practice guessing the meaning of the word using the context clues that we learned today. Regarding the images that I have used, they are all from public domains vectors.org. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns, please email me, and please have a wonderful day.